So this is an old story from when I was about 11, so somewhere in the early 2000s. I was working on my homework in my room when suddenly an unrelated question came to mind. Considering my dad is pretty knowledgeable, I decide to ask him for the answer. I walk into the living room where my parents are watching television. Since this is before you could simply pause your show, or at least before that technology was common, I decide to ask my dad if it's okay to interrupt his show, thinking he would tell me to wait till a commercial or something. Me. Dad, is it okay if I ask you a question? My dad stiffens and slowly turns his head to look at me. He looks a bit pale and stricken. What? Me. I was wondering, if you aren't busy, if I can ask you a question. Dad. Yeah, just go wait in my room. I happily go to my parents' bedroom, the only other room with a TV, and turn it on as I wait. This next part is my mom's perspective, which she shared with me years later. She was still focused on the show, unaware of my dad and I's conversation, when the TV suddenly turns off. She looks at my dad in confusion and asks what's going on. Without looking at her, he says in a shaky breath, "Our son has questions." She eventually figures that my dad believes I want to ask him about sex, and that he has to give me the sex talk. They spend a few minutes discussing what to talk to me about, and preparing for whatever questions I might have. She bolsters his confidence and sends him off to talk to me. I'm watching TV in my parents' room, completely unaware of what's about to happen. My dad enters, turns off the TV, and rigidly sits on the bed next to me. He clears his throat. "Well, son, what questions do you have for me?" Me. "Okay, well, are there one pencils? They always say use the #2 pencil at school, but I've never heard of any other number. Do they exist, and how are they different?" My dad slumps over onto his knees. He stares at the floor for a solid 30 seconds of silence. Finally, he takes in a deep breath and sits back up and answers my question. For those who are curious, it has to do with the quality/softness of the graphite in the pencil. Me. "Okay, cool, thanks, Dad." I stand up to leave, but he puts a hand on my shoulder to sit back down. "Wait a minute, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about." He proceeds to give me the sex talk. It wasn't anything overtly graphic, focusing mostly on puberty and biological changes I can expect. But it comes so out of left field for me that I am completely bowled over. He finishes talking and asks me, "So, do you have any more questions for me?" I reply no more questions as I shuffle back to my room. I sit down at my desk and stare at the pencil that started this, while I can hear my mom's cackling laughter in the living room as my dad tells her what happened. TLDR. Asked my dad a question about pencils, got the sex talk as a bonus.